What is up, denizens of the interwebs? The Game Awards are finally kicking off, and it looks like they're doing everything they can to avoid controversy, as they are at massive risk of being outshone by Stuttering Craig's own unique, The Real Game Awards. But what are they doing to avoid controversy? They've smartly avoided propping up any of the overly DEI-infested games that most people would be assuming they'd be putting up. For instance, Dragon Age the Veilguard somehow didn't get a Game of the Year award, or nomination I should say, because the awards aren't out yet. But at the same time, the people behind the Game Awards are getting incredibly desperate because they have noticed that they have become completely obsolete, as the person who runs it is officially trying to trademark the term Game Awards, which is so unbelievably vague that there is almost no chance in a just society of that kind of trademark request going through. But of course, that doesn't mean it won't. There's a pretty big risk that it could because, well, like I said, it requires us living in a just society. Similarly, Keighley, the guy who runs it, is relying on trying to appeal to the gamers to get them to appeal to the courts to give him access to the trademark, so he could realistically shut down any and all Game Awards that use the words Game Awards in their title. That would include Stuttering Craig's own The Real Game Awards and all the other grassroots small-level Game Awards throughout. But without further ado, let's actually get into the topics at hand. Geoff Keighley begs gamers to help in plots to trademark the Game Awards, written by M. Montanaro over at That Park Place. If Keighley's filing with the U.S. Patent Office succeeds, he'll own the term Game Awards. This is an incredibly generic term used by many smaller award shows run by independent creators. Keighley is the largest voice in the gaming award show scene, with his star-studded event taking place every year on YouTube, backed by AAA gaming industry. Now, That Park Place says it is unlikely that Keighley will succeed in his venture, as the U.S. Patent Office has safeguards in place that prevents organizations and individuals from trademarking common use terms. For example, someone couldn't trademark the term sporting goods store as it is so generic, but Dick's Sporting Goods can be trademarked as it is the name of a unique entity, which is a very good point that hopefully these people decide to honor instead of looking at the giant fat wad of cash that's likely wafting their way at this moment. But that is not stopping Keighley, a silver spoon recipient born into a very wealthy family, from trying to use his influence to take full ownership over the term. But he clearly knows it would be an uphill battle. That's why he's soliciting aid from gamers, reaching out to them via email to ask for help. And that is something that was broken by Smash AT, who first leaked the email on his official website and YouTube, exposing the absolute scam that is going on right now, as Keighley is trying to get people to sign a petition that justifies him getting the access to the trademark. So let's take a look over at that article from Smash AT. Leaked message from Geoff Keighley exposes the Game Awards' true agenda. So here's that leaked email, though it doesn't say who it was sent to, it just says that it was seeking support from fans. But it was leaked by someone close to the situation, and according to the email it says, "Hello, believe it or not, we are just 1 month away from the Game Awards and our 10th anniversary. As a fan who joined us for one of our Zoom sessions during the pandemic," that's who they're choosing from? My God, they're desperate. "We are reaching out with a quick request. We are currently in the midst of registering the Game Awards as a mark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. We are looking for letters of support to establish that consumers, that's you, distinctly associate the term the Game Awards with our annual award show. If you do feel this way, could you please quickly DocuSign this form with your name?" It should take about 30 seconds. "In addition, if you want to, reply to this email with any personal reflections and details on how you came to know and live the Game Awards. We would be happy to include your individual thoughts in our application when it is filed in a few weeks. Thank you, and hope you enjoy our show on December 12th, the Game Awards." So it's no shocker to me whatsoever that they chose people who would be most likely to be sympathetic to the cause, being people who have financially supported the Game Awards in the past. My guess is some of these are donors, as well as people who made it their goal to join one of these Zoom sessions, and as you know, Zoom only allows so many people to join, so this would have been a smaller session that would lead them to suspect this would be predominantly pro-Game Awards. And I assume the reason why it isn't a widely available form is because so many of the counterculture people would immediately go in and sign no, demanding that they do not get it, and they know that if that was the case, that no would win in a resounding amount. But Smash JT, being the excellent journalist he is, goes through and breaks down a lot of stuff in this article that's really good. First of all, he makes sure to point out the fact that fans are encouraged to sign a form via DocuSign, with the promise that the process would take only about 30 seconds. While the email frames this as harmless and celebratory gesture, the implications for the industry are far from anything trivial. The problem with trademarks in gaming, trademarking a phrase as broad as the gaming awards has the potential to create a ripple effect across the industry. The term itself is incredibly generic and, until now, has served as a shorthand for gaming recognition in general. Any game that we consider best, we call Game of the Year. You notice you don't call most movies Film of the Year, you just refer to it as a great film. But when a game is the best game of the year, you will call it the Game of the Year, and by them trademarking so many of these terms, that would effectively risk removing terms like Game of the Year away from the general corporate speech. By seeking to try and monopolize this term, Keighley would effectively limit how others in the industry use similar phrases. This will absolutely stifle smaller and independent award shows and media outlets that have historically celebrated gaming achievements outside of Keighley's high-budget, corporate-sponsored platform. And just as that Park Place article and this one are talking about, pointing out, this is not an event for the gamers, it's not an event for the people. This event is exclusively for the big paying talking heads. As, well, players only get about 10% of the vote when it comes to deciding whether or not a game wins Game of the Year. And as Smash JT elaborates down here, some people may read this message thinking he's completely innocent or that they are doing the right thing by participating in pushing the agenda forward. But no, the request subtly reframes the trademark application as a collaborative effort, even though its ultimate purpose is to give one entity exclusive control over a term that belongs to all of us. And that's exactly true. The point of doing this, by trademarking it, he is removing the ability for anyone else to use this term, silencing dissenting voices who would much rather be the voice of the people rather than the voice of the corrupted media circuit, like Stuttering Craig over at Side-Scrollers in the Real Game Awards, where that one, everyone gets one vote. You have to pay for your one vote. And while I don't necessarily like the idea of paying, I wish there was a better way to register. I understand why he's asking you to pay. But he's also doing a whole bunch of things that allow you to get some money off, and by putting in different codes, and these codes also are being tallied up to see which codes are used the most. So this is an absolutely idiotic thing that's going on. I mean, this is absolutely a way to censor and control the narrative. Because, well, if they have the ability to control what game gets called Game of the Year, then every Game of the Year is going to be like The Last of Us 2. Because remember, that game was fucking shit, but it won all of the awards. But this isn't the only thing going on. It does look like the Game Awards are trying to cover their tail a little bit, as they didn't nominate any overly DEI intersectional infested games, so no Concord, no Dustborn, no Star Wars Outlaws as Game of the Year. The Game of the Year contenders, however, are still pretty bad, with the exception of a couple. Coming from that Park Place, the Game Awards rejects woke titles with official nominations is Geoff Keighley filling heat from the Stuttering Craig's The Real Game Awards, written by M. Montanaro. Now, but most people, including myself, assumed that Dragon Age Veilguard, Concord, Dustborn, Star Wars Outlaws, and a few of the other super infested games would be at the top. Shockingly enough, the list of big games are Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow the Erdtree, which is questionable, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantasio. The problem with this list is, I'm loosely familiar with Balatro, I don't know anything about it, and which is a little concerning for a Game of the Year that I don't know anyone who plays. No one on my Steam friend list even seems to play the game. Shadow of the Erdtree, while it is an incredibly good DLC, has no place being in a Game of the Year award. If you could have nominated Game of the Years for that, I would much prefer the Cyberpunk DLC to get Game of the Year, because that DLC actually revolutionized the game of Cyberpunk and basically made it a new game. But on principle alone, I don't think DLC should be nominated for Game of the Year. Why wouldn't you make a new segment, DLC of the Year or Remake of the Year, and include DLCs in that? To be honest, neither Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree belong on this list. Now, I will say, I do think, partially, the reason why these two games were chosen is not because of their popularity, though that definitely does help. I do think part of the reason was so they could avoid games like Stellar Blade, games that would be an absolute embarrassment if they won for the established media. Now, on that same note, I'm shocked that Black Myth Wukong is on here, given how much IGN tried to smear Black Myth Wukong and how big of a voice IGN has when it comes to voting. And just to show the ridiculous level of the type of people who are in charge of informing the Game Awards, as pulled from Smash JT's Twitters, the top investors who all get massive amounts of votes, consisting of approximately 90% of the vote compared to the gamers' 10%, IGN Inverse, Jeff Gerstmann's show, I don't even know what the hell that is, Kinda Funny, who recently went out and actively attacked Smash AT with extreme vitriol defamation that should 1,000,000% get them sued. The LA Times, Minimax, PC Gamer, Polygon, so two of the more extreme intersectionalist sites, VentureBeat, The Verge. Does The Verge even do games, or LA Times? Touch Arcade, What's Good Gamers, What's Good Games, Game Rant, NPR, Pride.com. Because a group focused on LGBT pride definitely deserves a place as one of the top voters for video games. And then Variety, which has nothing to do with video games. So as you can see, this is not a gamer show. This isn't a show for gamers. It's not even about games. It is about appealing to the dominant market. And what happens when you control the market? You get to control the narrative around the market. And that's the real reason they want to trademark the Game Awards, because when they're the only ones in control of the Game Awards, then they no longer have to worry about hiding the woke games down at the bottom and can instead put them in wherever they want to be in that list. So here we have it, just another game corporation trying to destroy the voice of the people and the voice of the gamers, trying to be completely disingenuous and destroy the integrity of the gaming industry, as this is an industry that is constantly being under attack. As I reported in my last video where the ADL is in attacking Steam and the Game Awards trying to copyright that kind of terminology, which will which will bottleneck any kind of discussion in terms of things like Game Awards, it's just clear that gamers are once again enemy number 0, as they decide to continue pushing and pushing to the point where they can hopefully censor us for good, though they will fail time and time again, because at the end of the day, while they might control the market for now, they don't have that power forever. The indie market will always exist and always be huge, and it will come to replace you if it has to, so I would not recommend testing your luck, Keighley. But that's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about Keighley trying to trademark the Game Awards. Do you think he's going to succeed? And I will see you guys on the next one.